Hello, Claymores are heroic era units unlockable via Season 10 challenges. You need to go through 3 tiers of challenges to fully unlock them. The 4th tier unlocks their unique doctrine, which decreases cooldowns of their skills. Note that description of this doctrine is wrong, but I will get back to it in the Doctrines section. Claymores have 3 skills. Highland Charge, which is a standard infantry charge with quite slow swing at the end. They can charge point blank, which makes them skip the charge animation and swing immediately. The damage is low, only 5% increase over regular attacks. After the swing, their Fearless Heart trait is activated. Their second skill is Claymore Strike. They perform 3 strikes, each doing 20% bonus damage. It has a small range at which they will run to the enemy after activation. Outside of it, they will just swing in the air. It also activates Fearless Heart. For Freedom is their third skill. It's an extremely powerful 15-second buff which defines their playstyle. It increases their movement speed, damage and maximum HP. It also massively increases block break of their charge, adds knockback to Claymore Strike, and boosts the effect of Fearless Heart trait. Additionally, it increases the number of targets they can hit with regular attacks and skills. It has some animation on activation, but it can be cancelled with the skills or V. You can also activate it in the middle of the charge. They will continue it after For Freedom animation with boosted effect. Description of For Freedom says that it increases damage by 30%. That's not the case. The actual damage increase varies for each skill and Veterancy line. I will talk about it in the Veterancy section. When the buff wears off, they get crippling 10-second debuff. Their movement speed, attack rate and damage is heavily decreased, while damage taken increased. Basically, if they are still in fight when the buff expires, you can expect to lose your unit instantly. It's extremely important to pull them out before it happens. I tend to move them away 2 or 3 seconds before For Freedom ends to use the increased movement speed to send them somewhere safe quickly. Just keep an eye on the skill cooldown to know how much time has passed. It's also worth noting that when the debuff is active, they cannot use their skills, and if they were in the middle of charge, it will get cancelled. Let's talk about the Fearless Heart right now, but before that, please leave a like and subscribe if you find this video useful. Thank you. Fearless Heart is activated by offensive skills. It grants them 10% damage reduction for 5 seconds and allows them to restore up to 750 HP. It also reduces melee damage taken for them and nearby allies by 20%. The healing part can also affect allies. To be honest, I have no idea how it works exactly, but I can confirm that it sometimes happens. When For Freedom is active, the healing is doubled and melee damage reduction is increased to 35%. It's a very strong buff, so make sure to support your team's push with it. Also, space your skills to not overlap the buff. Moving on to the Veterancy tree. They have 2 lines, top is for the damage and bottom is for the defense. Let's start with the bottom one. Apart from loads of defensive stats, Claymores get 15% damage reduction during charge, which ends when they swing. They also get additional 9% damage reduction when Fearless Heart is active, and the bonus HP of For Freedom is doubled. In general, the bottom line makes them extremely tanky. When For Freedom and their trait is active, they feel unkillable. Even without For Freedom, enemies struggle to kill them. The problem is that their damage is very low. I had them alive for the whole match, engaging in multiple fights and ending up with a disappointing kill score. On the other hand, you can confidently participate in the biggest fights, providing the strong buff for your allies and tanking a lot of damage. The top line is the opposite. They get a bunch of offensive stats, much lower cooldowns on their skills, Claymore strike gets 10% more damage and the damage boost of For Freedom is increased. As I mentioned earlier, this damage bonus doesn't match the description. Here you can see how exactly it affects Claymores with the top and the bottom line. Notice that the charge damage is very low, so it should be used mostly for the utility. However, the boosted charge has its damage more in line with the Claymore strike. With the top line, it's just much easier to get kills. Unfortunately, your Claymores are also much more fragile and I feel like they are heavily dependent on For Freedom. As a result, they struggle in the big fights, because they need For Freedom to survive, but the battle won't be over before it runs out. I have a hard time deciding which lane is better, but I think that it goes like this. There are many units which are good at dealing damage. There are not many units which can buff the whole push and actively participate in it. So my conclusion is that the bottom line is more useful, while the top line is more fun. Let's talk about Doctrines now. I feel like they are lacking damage, so I focus on fixing it. I use Breakthrough, Siege Fighter and Slashing Armor Penetration. Additionally, I use both of their unique doctrines. One increases Claymore strike damage, second one decreases the cooldown of their skills. As I mentioned in the beginning, description here is wrong. It decreases the cooldown of Claymore strike instead of For Freedom, which makes this doctrine much more useful. Okay, with all that said, how do I play them? Claymores are weak against players. Their attacks and skills can be cancelled by days. They are also more AoE oriented, so just focus on enemy troops. They provide a very strong buff, so try to use their skills when there are allies nearby. Don't waste For Freedom. It has a very long cooldown and locks you out from the fight for a while. And make sure to retreat from the fight when it's about to run out. They are ineffective without their skills, so avoid fighting without them. Their battle happy trait gives them up to 200 armor when they hit the enemies. Make sure to not get engaged on before you stack it up. Claymores are poor flankers. They can be easily outplayed by enemy players. Just stick with your team and buff them up. At the time of editing this video, Claymores got a new trait, which allows bagpipers to reduce the effect of For Freedom debuff. I will post an update in the comments when I will check how it works exactly. Please leave a like if you found this video useful and make sure to subscribe if you are interested in more of such content. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments or on my Discord. Link is in the description. And here you have the Bagpiper's guide and some Claymore gameplay.